Veil of Dreams by Celeste King.
I grew up being told that dreams are the universe's way of speaking to us.
Not surprised to hear that.
What's that supposed to mean?
You're a dreamer, Samara. It's a good thing. It's one of the many things I enjoy about you.
Oh, really? What else is there?
It's for me to know, love.
This story is about the thin barrier between dreams and reality, and the one thing that can bridge the gap.
Due to YouTube's guidelines, many of the spicy scenes have been removed to ensure the audiobook isn't removed.
To get the uncut version, or to listen ad-free, check out worldsofprotheka.com.
Don't miss out on the opportunity to earn a 30% discount with code YouTube30.
Thank you for choosing Celeste King's Veil of Dreams.
Chapter 1. Gorthak. Heave, pull, boys! The salty sea air fills my lungs as I grip the rope, my muscles straining with each pull of the net. My crew of fellow orcs grunt and groan, their green skin glistening with sweat in the light of the setting sun. We're a motley bunch, but we've been through hell and back together. With a final grunt, we haul in the last of the catch. The salty sea air mingles with the scent of fish and sweat, creating an oddly comforting aroma. My muscles ache, but the satisfaction of a job well done is worth the pain. As I survey the pile of wriggling fish, something catches my eye. A glint of metal, barely visible beneath the scales and slime. Intrigued, I make my way over and plunge my hand into the mess. My fingers close around something cold and metallic. I pull it out, revealing a small ring. It's a strange thing, unlike anything I've ever seen. Too delicate for an orc's tastes, yet there's something about it that draws me in. I examine it more closely, noticing the intricate carvings etched into the band. The metal is cool to the touch, and I can't help but feel a sense of power emanating from it. Before I can stop myself, I slip the ring onto my thick finger. To my surprise, it fits perfectly. A faint glow emanates from the ring, casting an eerie light on the deck. "What's that, boss?" One of my crew members, Burguk, asks me. I continue to inspect the ring, the way it gleams and reflects the flickering lantern light. The metal is cool and smooth against my calloused fingers, and the intricate carvings etching the band are mesmerizing. "No clue," I respond, a smirk tugging at my lips. "But it's mine now." "Boss, we could get a hefty price for it at the next market," he suggests, eyeing the ring with greed. My gaze snaps to his, and I let out a menacing growl. I grab a nearby barrel of fish and toss it towards him. Burguk fumbles with the weight, nearly toppling over before regaining his balance. He grumbles under his breath as he rights himself. We finish up our work, securing the catch below deck. As the crew settles in for the night, I head to my cabin, the mysterious ring still adorning my finger. I can't shake the feeling that it's more than just a piece of jewelry, but for now, I push the thought aside. Exhaustion takes over as I climb into my bunk, the gentle swaying of the boat lulling me into a deep sleep. As I drift off, I can't help but ponder what the ring means and where it came from. But those are questions for another day. For now, I'm tired and don't give a damn. I bolt upright, my heart hammering in my chest as I take in the unfamiliar surroundings. The air is dense and oppressive, and the only source of light is a lone, flickering candle on a dust-laden table. "What the hell?" I growl, scrambling to my feet. I stagger towards the door, my senses on high alert. The lock's no match for me. It snaps like a twig under the force of my shoulder. The door swings open, revealing a lengthy hallway lined with more locked doors. "All right," I mutter, drawing my battle axe from my back. My boots echo on the cold stone floor as I venture down the hall, trying a few doors along the way. They're all sealed tight, and an unsettling quiet envelops the place. The hair on the back of my neck stands on end, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched. I continue on, determined to find answers. I follow the scream, each step down the spiraling staircase echoing in my ears. The cries grow louder, accompanied by the harsh clang of metal and the heart-wrenching sobs of women. My grip tightens on my axe, knuckles white as I continue my descent. By the gods, why am I going toward the screaming? I grumble, still letting my feet carry me forward. I crash through the door at the bottom of the staircase, entering a dimly lit basement. My eyes widen in disbelief as I take in the sight before me. Cages upon cages filled with women of all shapes and sizes, their faces smeared with dirt, tears streaking down their cheeks. And in the midst of it all, a dark elf man strides back and forth, a malicious grin spreading across his face. My gaze sweeps over the scene, and then I see her. A human woman, her golden brown hair cascading down her shoulders like a waterfall of molten sunlight. Her eyes, as blue and intense as a stormy sea, lock onto mine, defiance radiating from her very core. She snarls at the dark elf, spittle flying from her lips, and I know in that instant that I will do whatever it takes to free her. "Release us, you vile creature!" Her voice, raw with fury, echoes through the basement. The dark elf merely chuckles, his eyes gleaming like polished obsidian in the faint light. "Ah, my dear, you'll soon learn to embrace your new home, as will all your companions." The woman's fierce spirit and unyielding gaze grip me, stirring an inexplicable sensation deep within. I'm unable to shake her image, even as her chestnut curls sway with her movements, and her gaze finally lands on me. Our eyes meet, and the illusion shatters. I jolt awake in my bed, struggling to catch my breath.
Chapter 2. Cassia. The kitchen is a whirlwind of activity, pots clanging and knives chopping, the air thick with the scent of roasting meat and fresh herbs. I'm in the midst of it all, scrubbing furiously at a stubborn stain on the countertop. "You've been too clumsy lately, Cassia," the manor chef says, shaking his head as he passes by me. "What's gotten into you?" I bite my lip and offer a sheepish apology, avoiding his gaze. It's true that I've been more accident-prone lately, dropping dishes and spilling food. But I can't bring myself to tell him the truth, that I've been exhausted, my mind preoccupied with strange dreams and a growing sense of unease. As a maid in the master's manor, I've always known my place. Born and raised by a family of servants, I've been taught to be obedient and respectful to the dark elves who rule over us. And for the most part, I've been content with my lot in life. The master has always treated me fairly, providing me with food and shelter, and even allowing me to learn to read and write. But lately, something is off. I try to push these thoughts out of my mind as I finish cleaning up the mess in the kitchen. Or maybe I'm just going mad, I mutter to myself as I leave the kitchen and head towards the second floor. I was supposed to be up here ages ago to clean the windows, but I can't seem to focus on anything these days. The issue is that I haven't been getting enough sleep lately. When I close my eyes, I fall into these horrible nightmares. In these twisted dreams, I'm not a maid at the manor, I'm a slave. I'm trapped in a cage and poked it through the bars by the dark elf and his elitist friends. It's been going on for weeks now, and I can't hide my exhaustion from the other workers at the manor. They've been giving me strange looks and whispering behind my back. I can't blame them, really. I've been dropping dishes and spilling food left and right. As I reach the second floor, I take a deep breath and try to shake off the lingering feeling of unease. I can't let these dreams get the best of me. I have a job to do, and I need to do it well. I start cleaning the windows, trying to focus on the task at hand. But as I work, I can't help but feel like I'm being watched. I glance around the room, but there's no one there, just the usual furniture and decorations. I shake my head and continue cleaning, but the feeling persists. It's like there's someone just out of sight, watching me with cold, calculating eyes. I try to tell myself that it's just my imagination, but I can't shake the feeling. I really have lost it, I mutter to myself, trying to shake off the lingering feeling of being watched. I finish wiping down the last window pane and step back, taking in the sight of the sunlight streaming in through the now sparkling glass. The room is bathed in a warm, golden glow that seems to momentarily chase away my fears. As I stand there, basking in the sun's rays, I hear a deep voice behind me. "Taking a break, are we?" I whirl around, my heart pounding in my chest, and come face to face with the master. He stands in the doorway, his dark eyes fixed on me, and I feel a shiver run down my spine. "No, master." I stammer, my voice barely a whisper. I struggle to find my words, feeling his gaze boring into me. He takes another step into the room, closing the distance between us. I can't help but drop my eyes to the floor, avoiding his intense stare. My heart races as I fumble through an apology. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to take a break. I was admiring the sunlight. I can't even look him in the face when I'm awake. That's how deeply the nightmares have affected me. In my dreams, his piercing blue eyes are replaced by glowing orbs of darkness, filled with malice and hunger. His smile twists into a cruel sneer, and his hands become weapons, hurting me in ways I can't even fathom. But in reality, the master is nothing like that. He's a tall, imposing figure with dark hair and piercing blue eyes that seem to see right through me. He's been nothing but fair to me, providing me with food, shelter, and even allowing me to learn to read and write. I take a deep breath, trying to push the images of my nightmares out of my mind. I force myself to look up, meeting his gaze. For a moment, I see a glimmer of amusement in his eyes, and I realise that he's not angry with me at all. My dreams are twisting the way I see everything, even when I'm not sleeping. "Is something wrong, Cassia?" the master asks, his voice low and smooth. I shake my head, trying to compose myself. "No, sir, I was just lost in thought." The master nods, his eyes never leaving mine. "I see. Well, I hope you're not too lost in thought to finish your work." "Of course not, sir," I say quickly, turning back to the windows. I can feel the master's eyes on me as I work, and I can't shake the feeling of unease. I try to focus on the task at hand, but my mind keeps drifting back to the nightmares. I need to find a way to make them stop.
Chapter 3. Gorthak. The sea air whips through my dreads as I haul in the net, the weight of the catch straining my muscles. But it's not the physical exertion that's got me distracted. It's her, the human from my dream. Her eyes, full of fire and defiance, are seared into my memory. "Boss, we're running low on supplies," Kogan grunts, interrupting my thoughts. He's a stout orc with a thick beard that hides most of his face. We might need to make a stop soon. I grunt in response, my mind still elsewhere. The dream had felt so real, like a memory that I couldn't quite place. It was as if I had known her, this human woman, in another life. "Gorthak, you listening?" Kogan's voice snaps me back to reality. Yeah, I heard you," I say, my voice gruff. "We'll make a stop when we need to." Kogan nods and goes back to work, but I can't shake the feeling that there's something more to this dream. It's not just the woman, but the place as well. The manor, the basement, the cages. It all feels too familiar. I decide to retire to my cabin early, hoping that some rest will clear my head. As I make my way below deck, the ring on my finger catches the light, casting a faint green glow. A strange thing to find in a fishing net, but maybe Burgok had a point when he said I should sell it. But I don't want to, I decide, clunking my way inside and closing the door with a thud. Laying back, I close my eyes and let the rocking of the boat lull me to sleep. As the dream starts, I find myself in the same room as before. No time to waste. I charge through the door, my heavy boots thudding against the wooden floor. The manor is eerily quiet, save for the distant sound of screams. I follow the cries, my heart pounding in my chest. It's as if I'm reliving the same dream all over again. The same twists and turns, the same dark corridors. But this time, I'm not confused. I'm angry. Angry at the dark elves who dare to imprison this woman. The screams grow louder as I descend the stairs to the basement. My skin prickles with unease, which is not an easy feat against an ex-mercenary orc, but I push forward. And then I see her. She's standing in a cage, dressed in rags that barely cover her body. Her hair is a wild mess of curls, and her eyes are blazing with fury. She's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I can't help but feel a surge of pride at her bravery. Despite being caged and mistreated, she hasn't lost her spirit. It's a quality that I admire, one that I can't help but be drawn to. The dark elves surrounding her are closing in, their hands reaching through the bars, trying to snatch her. But she's not surrendering without a struggle. She's lashing out, her screams echoing in the damp basement. Her fists, clenched in defiance, are a stark contrast to her frail appearance. "She's quite the feisty one today, isn't she?" one of the dark elf bastards remarks with a wicked grin. He's leaning against the cold stone wall, arms crossed, watching the scene unfold with amused interest. Another chuckles darkly and says, "I prefer them that way." He steps closer to the cage, reaching out to touch her wild curls. She recoils, snarling like a cornered beast. A third sneers, smacking the bars with a bony hand. I don't. She needs to learn her place. The malice in his glare curdles my blood, and I'm more than happy to put her there. The way they speak about her infuriates me. I've never been one to care for human women, or any other beings for that matter. Mercenary work never allowed for such distractions. But there's something about her that ignites a primal urge within me, a desire to protect her from any harm that may come her way. The thought of anyone daring to threaten her fills me with an uncontrollable rage. An urge I haven't felt in a long time rises up from the depths of my anger, and I find that I would very much like to see how the walls look when painted with the blood of their dismembered corpses. I take a step forward, my hand instinctively reaching for the battle axe on my back. The sight of her caged up like an animal triggers something primal within me. But before I can do anything, she looks at me. Our eyes meet and my skin comes alive. It's as if a jolt of electricity has passed through me. I've never felt anything like it before. I expect to be kicked out of the dream like last time, but I'm not. Instead, I'm rooted to the spot, unable to tear my gaze away from her. Again, my eyes gaze upon her body. She's skinny, a little too skinny, but it's clear that she's naturally petite. Despite that, her body has the potential for delicious curves. The idea of that makes me want to nurse her to health, get her nice and plump for my pleasure. Her brown curls are tangled, wild, but they give her an allure that I can't resist. I take another step toward her, drawn in by her fiery spirit. Her eyes, damn, those eyes. They're a deep brown, full of fire and defiance. They're the kind of eyes that could make a man do stupid things. I can't help but wonder what her lips would taste like. Would they be soft and yielding, or would she bite back? Either way, I'm willing to find out. I take another step closer. At last, we both appear to snap out of our trance-like state. Without hesitation, she belts out a desperate cry for help. "Help! Please help me!" The elves whip their heads in my direction, their expressions a mix of shock and confusion. They waste no time sprinting toward me, intent on cutting me off before I can reach her. But as soon as their fingers brush against my skin, my eyes fly open and I'm back in my cabin. "No!" I roar lividly. "No, damn it! What the hell is going on with me?"
Chapter 4. Cassia. "Good morning," Ilara, one of the other maids, greets in passing. Her words fly over my head. Since the nightmares began, I've had a hard time remembering them. But there are always a few things that I can never seem to forget. 1. The nightmares are always consistent. I wake up in a cage wearing nothing but rags as 4 elven men paw at me like horny mutts. They speak about me as though I'm not there, saying vile and lecherous things about just what they'd like to do to me. 2. The master is always in them. Though he isn't one of the 4 dark elves who enjoy making me squirm, my master is always present in some form. Beside the men, off to the side, in the corner of the room. Wherever he is, I can feel his eyes as if he were actually touching my body. And 3. Last night there was an orc. I'm not sure why I remember him so clearly. He was just standing there, watching me with a strange intensity. He didn't say anything, didn't move, just stared at me with those dark, piercing eyes. I can still feel the weight of his gaze on me, even now. It's unnerving, to say the least. I try to shake off the memory as I go about my day, but it's hard to focus on anything else. The dreams have been getting worse lately, and I can't help but feel like there's something more to them than just my subconscious playing tricks on me. And now, an orc. An orc, I repeat aloud, drowning in confusion. I've heard the stories, of course, the gruesome tales of orcs rampaging through villages, leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. They rape, they murder, they pillage. They're monsters, pure and simple. But the orc in my dream, he wasn't like that. He didn't look like a monster. He looked, well, handsome. His skin was a deep, rich green, like the leaves of a forest in the height of summer. His eyes were a piercing black, like the darkest night sky. And his body, well, let's just say he was built like a warrior. He was tall, with broad shoulders and muscular arms. His chest was sinewy, sculpted as if he were a statue come to life. And his legs, they were strong and powerful, like tree trunks. But it was his face that really caught my attention. His features were sharp and angular, with a strong jawline and high cheekbones. His nose was straight and proud, and his lips were full and sensual. He was the complete opposite of the dark elves I've grown up around. They're all sharp angles and pale skin, with calculating eyes. But this orc, he was different. He was warm and inviting, with a spark of life in his eyes that I've never seen before. I can't stop thinking about him. I know it's ridiculous, but I can't help it. There's something about him that draws me in, that makes me want to know more. I've never seen an orc in real life, and I'm not sure I want to. But if they're all like the one in my dream, well, maybe I've been missing out. But that's not the point, I remind myself. When I look up from the floor I've been scrubbing, 3 maids are staring at me like I've grown a horn from my forehead. I smile awkwardly, letting out a hollow laugh. Just musing aloud, I say, all 4 of us clearly very uncomfortable. The 3 women scurry off, leaving me to sit back with a sigh and scrub my face. What has gotten into me? Evil elves and handsome orcs. My life at the manor is a good one. Why am I sabotaging myself this way? I can't seem to get over this change in my dream as I go about my day, distracted and slightly disoriented, tired like I haven't slept at all. I'm so out of it that I almost drop a tray of silverware while setting the table for dinner. "Careful there, Cassia," says one of the other maids, catching the tray before it crashes to the floor. "You look like you could use some rest." "I'm fine," I say, forcing a smile. "Just a little tired, that's all." But it's more than just tiredness. It's like there's a fog in my brain, clouding my thoughts and making it hard to focus on anything. Even the simplest tasks seem to take twice as long as they should. As I'm folding napkins, another maid comes up to me. "Hey, Cassia, have you seen the master's favourite wine glass? I can't seem to find it anywhere." I search my memory, trying to recall if I saw it earlier in the day. "I think I saw it in the pantry," I say, hoping I'm right. "Check the top shelf. It might be hiding behind something." The maid nods and hurries off, leaving me to my thoughts. I can't shake the feeling that something is off, that there's something I'm missing. But every time I try to put my finger on it, it slips away like a wisp of smoke. Maybe I just need a good night's sleep, I think to myself. Maybe then I'll be able to clear my head and get back to normal. But as I finish up my tasks for the day and head to my small room in the servants' quarters, I can't help but feel a sense of unease. Like there's a storm brewing on the horizon, and I'm right in the path of the storm. I shake my head, trying to dispel the dark thoughts. I need to focus on the present, on the tasks at hand. There's no use worrying about things I can't control. But as I lay down on my narrow cot and close my eyes, I can't help but wonder what the night will bring. Will I have another nightmare? Will the orc be there again, watching me with those intense black eyes? Gods, I hope so.
Chapter 5. Gorthok. The boat grinds against the dock as we pull into the harbor. The crew grumbles, casting sidelong glances my way. I hear whispers of lazy and slacking. They don't understand. They can't. I heave a crate of fish onto my shoulder, the smell of salt and scales filling my nostrils. Enough! You gossip like wenches, I growl, my voice rumbling like distant thunder. We've got work to do. Grunts of acknowledgement follow, and the crew springs into action. I join them, unloading the haul and carrying it to the market. The town is small, nestled between the sea and the mountains, with cobblestone streets and whitewashed buildings. It's quaint, but it's home. As we sell and trade our catch, I can't shake the feeling that something is off. The dreams have been growing more vivid, more real. And the woman... Gorthok, you there? Grook, my second in command, claps a hand on my shoulder. His brow furrows with concern. I shake my head, clearing the cobwebs. Fine, I grunt. Just tired. He eyes me skeptically but doesn't press further. They know something is wrong, but they don't know what. And I can't tell them. Not yet. The strange orcish woman blocks my path, her wild mane of gray hair framing her piercing blue eyes. Even for an orc, she's short. Gorthok! She rasps, her low voice sending a chill down my spine. Your fate is not what you think it is. My crewmates snicker behind me, but I can't shake off the unease settling in my gut. What do you mean? I ask, barely above a whisper. She reveals a row of crooked teeth as she smiles. Come with me, she says, turning and heading towards a nearby table. I follow her, the mocking laughter of my crewmates fading behind me. You've got to be kidding me, Kogan exclaims, tossing his hands up in the air. I snap at him. Just go trade for supplies, Kogan. He scoffs, staring at me for a moment before ushering the rest of the crew away. The woman sits down at the table, motioning for me to join her. What could you possibly want with me? I ask, feigning indifference, though her words send a chill down my spine. The woman leans in, her eyes piercing mine. The woman haunting your dreams, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. She is your destined mate. I let out a harsh laugh. That's impossible, I scoff. I've never even laid eyes on her. And besides, she's human. The woman's expression remains unchanged. You will, she says, her tone steady. But only if you stop looking forward and start looking behind you. I shake my head, trying to clear the fog clouding my thoughts. What are you talking about? I ask, my voice growing hoarse. Who are you? She reveals a row of crooked teeth as she smiles. I'm a seer, she says, and I've seen your past. A seer? I scoff. Aren't seers supposed to see the future? If you don't learn from your past, your future will never come, she says, her cryptic words hanging in the air. In order to reach her, you must use your present to find enlightenment. I push myself to my feet, the chair scraping against the cobblestones. This is preposterous, I growl. I'm not mated to some human I've never met, and you're mad. The woman's smile fades, but her eyes remain locked on mine. You will find her, she says, her voice filled with conviction. And when you do, you will know what you must do. I turn and walk away, my mind racing. What did she mean? And how did she know about my dreams? With every step I take through the bustling market, the woman's words weigh heavily on my mind. They're true. I can feel it in my bones. The problem is, I've never met this woman before. How can she know about my dreams? How can she know about the pull I feel towards her? It's like a magnetic force drawing me in even when I'm awake. The crew's laughter reaches my ears as I approach the boat. They're mocking me, thinking I've fallen for some old seer's tricks. But they don't understand. They can't see the visions I see when I close my eyes at night. They can't feel the connection I have with this woman. "Gorthok, you really believe that hag's nonsense?" Grook sneers, tossing a crate onto the deck. My hand instinctively goes for the hilt of my axe as I glare at him. "Watch your tongue," I growl. He holds up his hands in mock surrender. "Just saying, boss. You're usually not one for fairy tales." I turn away from him, my mind racing. The woman's words echo in my head. "You will, but only if you stop looking forward and look behind you." Suddenly it hits me. It's not about my future. It's about my past. In order to find the woman from my dreams, in order to find my mate, I need to stop moving forward and look back. We need to turn this vessel around. "Gorthak, by the gods, what the hell is up with you?" Kogan asks, his brow furrowed with frustration. The rest of the crew eyes me, clearly just as curious as he is. "We need to turn back," I say, my voice firm.
From the depths of the darkness of Protheka,
Or clawing up from the realms of fantasy.
come the most fearsome beasts you have ever seen.
These monsters are done watching from the shadows.
Now, as they step into the light, something unexpected grips them.
Something even they can't fight off.
Love,
Vampires.
demons,
Dark elves.
gods.
Minotaurs. Creatures of light and dark.
They will protect their mates.
Do whatever needs to be done.
Morally grey heroes who will burn the world to protect the women who love them.
10 audiobooks.
Fall into over 60 hours of fantasy romance.
20 ebooks.
Over 1 million words of these brutes who will protect their women.
Even if they might destroy themselves in the process.
Get the immersive Protheka fantasy romance bundle.
For 80% off, right now, dive into Protheka at a once-in-a-lifetime discount.
The first bundle to offer both ebooks and audiobooks on worldsofprotheka.com. Protheka's magic is eternal, and this romantasy bundle will make it endless.
Chapter 6. Gorthak. "Are you kidding me?" Grook spits furiously. I grip the railing of the boat, my knuckles turning white as I try to keep my cool. "Listen, you lot," I growl. "I know it sounds mad, but we have to turn back." Burgut crosses his arms, his face twisted in disbelief. "We've already fished those waters, Gorthak. There was hardly anything there to begin with." I can feel the frustration building inside me, but I take a deep breath and try to explain. "I know, Burgut, but something's changed. I can feel it." Kogan steps forward, his eyes narrowed. "What do you mean? Something's changed. Is it something that Seer told you to do?" I hesitate for a moment, unsure of how much to reveal. But then I decide to just come out with it. "It's about a woman," I say, my voice barely above a whisper. Grook lets out a loud, sarcastic laugh. "You and a woman? What woman? We've been on this damn boat for years, Gorthak." I glare at him, my anger boiling over. "It's not like that, Grook. I've been having these dreams about a woman who's in trouble, and I think she's in those waters." Grook rolls his eyes. "Oh, great. So now we're playing the hero? What's next, Gorthak? You gonna start singing love songs to this mystery woman?" I ignore his jibe and turn to the crew. "We're going back." "No, we're not," Grook snaps. "You're no longer fit to captain this boat. You're unreasonable and delusional. You wouldn't understand, I say, my voice low and dangerous. You've never had a dream like this before. Grook scoffs. And you have? Since when are you some kind of seer, Gorthok? I clench my fists, trying to hold back my anger. I don't need to be a seer to know that something's wrong, and I'm not going to let your ignorance get in my way. Burguk steps forward, his eyes blazing. You're not thinking straight, Gorthok. We can't just turn back because of some dream. I glare at him. It's not just a dream, Burguk. It's a warning. And if you don't want to listen to me, then you can stay here in this nowhere village and rot for all I care. Grook lets out a roar of anger and charges at me, his fists raised. I'm ready for him, though, and I dodge his blow easily. The rest of the crew joins in, and soon we're all fighting, curses and insults flying through the air. My battle axe slices through the air, a deadly dance I know all too well. It's been ages since I fought like this, but the rhythm of mercenary work never truly leaves you. The crew, a motley bunch of ex-mercenaries like myself, are no pushovers. Each swing, parry, and dodge is met with equal force, but I was made captain for a reason. Sweat drips down my brow as I fight with a ferocity born from years of surviving in the worst places imaginable. Every muscle in my body strains as I put my back into each swing, my axe a natural extension of myself. I'm in my element, and I don't care about the camaraderie we've shared. Right now, they're just in my way. The clang of metal on metal rings in my ears, punctuated by grunts and curses. I duck and spin, narrowly avoiding a blow from Grook. My second in command is a formidable opponent, but I fought him enough times to anticipate his moves. You're a fool, he spits viciously. Is some bitch worth destroying your crew? With a growl, I send my axe whistling through the air, catching him off guard. He stumbles and I press my advantage, but the others aren't just standing by. They're a blur of motion, attacking me from all sides. I grunt as a fist connects with my ribs, but I don't let it slow me down. This fight is about more than just proving who's in charge. It's about the warning I received and the future of my crew. His arms! One of them cries out. Get his arms! I see Grook charging towards me, his eyes wild with rage. I brace myself for the impact, but at the last second I sidestep and bring my axe down in a vicious arc. The blade slices through his leather armor like butter, and he falls to the ground with a gurgling scream. Blood sprays across my face and I spit on the floor, rolling my shoulders. Who's next? Orgoth steps up, his twin daggers flashing in the moonlight. He's fast, but I'm faster. I parry his blows with ease, my axe a blur of motion. With a roar, I bring the weapon down on his skull, splitting it in two. 3 or 4 orcs charge me at once, trying to use their numbers against me. Someone shoves a knife into my side, scraping the bone, no doubt. I grab him by the back of the neck, crushing his spine before tossing him aside like a limp fish. When I turn back to them, I let out an animalistic roar and claim my dominance, watching as the remaining crew members surrender. Kogan and Burguk are among them, their faces bruised and bloodied. They look at me with a mixture of fear and respect, the way they used to before we became fishermen. I stand there, panting heavily, my axe dripping with blood. The fight is over, but the cost has been high. Looking around at the carnage, my heart pumping with adrenaline and yet heavy with regret. What a shame to waste such good arms. They should have seen the truth. I wipe the sweat from my brow and turn towards the helm. We're turning the boat around, I say, my voice hoarse. And if anyone tries to stop me, they can join their friends. We're with you, Gorthok, Burguk says, fisting his hand over his chest. Good. Toss the bodies overboard, I instruct, dismissing the murdered crewmates with a wave of my hand. We're turning back, and no one will stop me.
Chapter 7. Cassia. Dance for us, human. One of them sneers, his voice dripping with disdain. Show us what you're worth. I'm back in the cage again, trapped in this twisted nightmare. The dark elves circle around me, their eyes gleaming with malice. They reach through the bars, trying to touch me, to claim me as their own. I shake my head, refusing to give in to their demands, but they won't take no for an answer. "Come on, little whore," one of the elves says, reaching through the bars. "Show us what you human bitches were bred for." I'm too preoccupied to pay attention to their taunts. I'm waiting for him, the orc who saved me in my dreams, but he doesn't appear. I wonder why tonight is different. Why has it gone back to the way it was before? The dark elves grow impatient with my silence. One of them grabs my wrist and yanks me toward him, slamming me against the rusted bars. I cry out in pain, feeling like nothing more than a piece of meat. "You will do as we say," he hisses, his breath hot on my face, "or you will suffer the consequences." I try to pull away, but his grip is too strong. I'm trapped, helpless in the face of their cruelty. "Let go of me," I demand, but my voice shakes with anger and fear. The elves laugh, their eyes glinting with amusement. "What have you been feeding her?" one of them sneers. "She's grown too defiant." "We'll simply have to show her what happens to whores who don't listen," another one says, his hand slipping between my thighs. I cry out, trying to pull away, but his grip is too strong. "Screw you," I shout, my voice echoing through the room. "Lay back and I'll do just that." A sudden crash sends tremors through the floor, followed by a cacophony of screams. The air fills with dust, obscuring my view of the elves and the other prisoners. I seize the opportunity to break free from the elf's grasp, stumbling backward as my heart races. What is going on? This has never happened before. A massive shadow emerges from the cloud of dust, growing larger with each step it takes toward my cage. My heart pounds in my chest as I squint, trying to discern the figure through the haze. Suddenly, a colossal orc materializes before me, his imposing frame dwarfing the dark elves. He is unlike any creature I have ever laid eyes on. His deep green skin is marred with scars, and his long black dreads are tied back in a neat braid. His piercing eyes seem to see right through me, and he exudes an aura of intimidation. Yet there is something about him that draws me in, something that feels oddly comforting amidst the chaos. As the dust settles, I can make out the orc's features more clearly. His chest is bare, revealing a tapestry of muscles that ripple with every movement. A jagged scar runs down the centre of his torso, a testament to the battles he's fought and won. His arms are thick and powerful, each one covered in intricate tattoos that seem to dance in the flickering torchlight. His hands are massive, with fingers that could easily crush bone. A massive axe is strapped to his back, probably bigger than I am. It's almost as big as he is, with a blade that gleams in the dim light. The handle is wrapped in leather, worn from years of use. It's the weapon of a true warrior, someone who's seen more than their fair share of bloodshed. The orc's eyes lock onto mine, and I feel a jolt of something I would call pleasure, if I didn't know any better, as it zips through my body like adrenaline. There's something about the way he's looking at me, like he knows me, like he's been searching for me. I feel the scream climb up my throat, but it doesn't come out. Instead, I find myself saying one thing. "Gorthak." Suddenly, I'm jolted awake, my heart pounding in my chest as a scream retches itself from my lungs. My hands fly to my throat as if I can stop the sound from coming out. The haunting image of Gorthak's gaze lingers in my mind, making it hard to breathe. The door to my room flies open, hitting the wall and bouncing back, but the man in the doorway stops it from slamming shut. I lay my eyes on the master, and a new scream starts to form in my throat. His elven frame fills the doorway, and my heart races at the sight of him as the memories flood my mind. With no bars separating us, he can do whatever he wants to me. There's no one here to stop him, no one coming to save me. And what does he do? He asks me what's wrong. Why are you screaming? He asks, his voice filled with concern. But his eyes are narrowed, accusing. Aren't they? He was... I stutter, trying to catch my breath. It was just a nightmare, Master. You didn't need to come in. He looks around the room, his eyes narrowing. I came because I thought there was an intruder. He scans the room, his hand resting on the hilt of his battle axe. And what? Was he going to fight them off to save some slave? I can't help but feel a pang of anger at the thought. You aren't a slave, Cassia. Those are just dreams, I remind myself, trying to calm my racing heart. The Master's gaze softens as he looks at me. Why are you screaming at figments of your imagination, Cassia? He asks, taking a step closer. Why does he know my name? He's never spoken to me, not before that day by the windows. I back up, trying to get further away from him. It won't happen again. He studies me for a moment, then nods. Good. Yet I can't help feeling that this is anything but. Chapter 8. Cassia. I splash cold water on my face, trying to shake off the remnants of the nightmare. The other maids bustle around me, chattering and laughing as they prepare for the day ahead. Not one of them looks my way, despite knowing for sure they must have heard my screams. I can't help but feel a pang of resentment towards them. They're all so carefree, so oblivious to the darkness that lurks beneath the surface of this manor. But then again, maybe I'm the one who's lost touch with reality. As I dry my face, I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror. My eyes are bloodshot, and dark circles hang beneath them. I look like a ghost, a mere shadow of the person I used to be. Cassia, are you all right? I jump at the sound of my name, turning to see Alara looking at me with concern. She's a kind soul, always looking out for the rest of us. I'm fine, I say, forcing a smile. Just a bad dream, that's all. Alara nods, but I can tell she doesn't believe me. You've been having a lot of those lately, haven't you? I shrug, not wanting to admit the truth. I suppose so. Maybe you should talk to the Master about it, she suggests. He might be able to help. I scoff at the thought. The Master? He doesn't care about us, Alara. We're just servants to him. Alara looks taken aback by my words. That's not true, Cassia. He's always been fair to us. Why would he care about my well-being or my stupid nightmares? It doesn't make any sense. Or maybe these nightmares have affected my perception of him for me to be rational anymore. I shake my head, trying to clear my thoughts. I need to focus on my work. But as I go about my duties, I can't shake the feeling that something is off. The other maids seem to behave as though she wasn't screaming her lungs out in the middle of the night. And the Master's gaze follows me wherever I go. It's as if I'm being watched, like a mouse in a cage, and I can't help but wonder when the predator will strike. The only thing that confuses me more than the Master's sudden attention or the maid's obliviousness is the orc from my dream. How did I know his name? I've never seen him in my life, never seen any race other than elf and human. As a matter of fact, I've never even left the manor. There's no way I could have known him. Yet I said his name like I've known him my whole life. Gorthak, I murmur, as though it's my own little secret. One of the maids looks at me strangely, and I realise I forgot that I was working the garden with another girl. But when did I get here? Did you say something? She asks, her brow furrowed in concern. I shake my head, trying to clear my thoughts. No, I squeak. I try to push the thoughts out of my head and focus on my work, but it's no use. My mind keeps drifting back to the orc, to Gorthak. Who is he? And why do I feel like I know him? I don't know him, I tell myself. He isn't real. To avoid another set of strange glances, I get up and start to stroll the gardens alone. He isn't real, I repeat forcefully. I've never met or known an orc. I've never left this property, so there's no way I could have met anyone. And if I met an orc, I'm fairly certain that's something I would remember. And as I rack my brain for answers, I come up dry. I really am just losing my mind, aren't I? But as I dig deeper into my thoughts, I realise something. I don't remember much of anything. I stop in my tracks, my heart pounding in my chest. What were my parents' names? I ask myself, my voice barely above a whisper. I try to remember, but all I can see is a blur of faces and memories that don't quite fit together. I know they were kind, and that they loved me, but their names elude me. It's as if they never existed at all. I shake my head, trying to clear the fog that's settled over my mind. But it's no use. The more I try to remember, the more it slips away from me. Why can't I remember? I ask myself, my voice trembling with frustration. I look around the garden, searching for answers that aren't there. The other maids are still working, their laughter and chatter filling the air. But it all seems so distant, so unimportant. All I can think about is the gaping hole in my memory. I take a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. But it's no use. My mind is racing, and I can't seem to focus on anything else. Who am I? I ask myself, my voice barely above a whisper. I know that I'm a servant, born of a servant, born of a servant. Generations of my family have served the master, all of whom chose to stay and take advantage of his kindness. But who is the master? And why can't I remember anything about my life before I came to work for him? I feel a sudden sense of panic rising up inside of me. I don't know who I am or where I come from. All I know is that I'm trapped in this manor, serving a master who I can't even remember meeting. I take a deep breath, trying to steady myself, but it's no use. The panic is too strong, and I can feel myself starting to hyperventilate. I need to get out of here. I need to find answers.
Chapter 9. Gorthok. She knows my name. I can't shake off the remnants of that dream, as if I've been wide awake all night. The human woman's voice still echoes in my mind, calling out my name. It's bizarre. I've never laid eyes on her before. How the hell does she know who I am? That crazy orc woman might have been onto something. These dreams, they're more than just dreams. They've got to be visions, sent by some higher power. But why me? And why this human woman? Could it be possible that she's my mate? I can't get her out of my head. The way her eyes sparkled with defiance, even in the face of captivity. The way her fiery red hair cascaded down her shoulders, framing her delicate features. And her lips. Gods, those lips. Full and pink, like ripe fruit begging to be tasted. I remember the way she looked at me, with a mix of fear and curiosity. But there was something else in her gaze, something that made my heart race. It was desire, pure and unadulterated. I could see it in the way her pupils dilated, in the way her breath hitched when I got close. And when she said my name, damn. It was like a jolt of electricity running through my body. The sound of her voice was intoxicating, like a siren's song luring me in. I wanted to hear it again and again, to lose myself in the sweet sound of her calling out to me. I wanted to free her from that cage, to take her away from that dark and twisted place. I wanted to protect her, to keep her safe from harm. But most of all, I wanted to claim her as my own, to make her mine, in every sense of the word. I can almost taste her, sweet and tangy like a ripe peach, like I've tasted her before. I want to devour her, to consume her until there's nothing left but the two of us, lost in our own world. But then again, dreams are just dreams, right? Maybe I'm just losing my mind, listening to the nonsense of a mad woman. I shake my head, trying to clear the haze, but it's no use. The storm outside is growing fiercer, the wind howling like a pack of starving wolves. I struggle to my feet, my legs unsteady. The boat rocks violently and I crash into the wall, my battle axe clattering to the floor. I steady myself, my grip tightening around the handle of my weapon. Whatever this is, I need to figure it out, and fast. Shoving aside the lingering thoughts of the mysterious woman's words, I dash out of my cabin, my heart thundering in my chest. The deck, slick with rain, forces me to tread carefully as waves batter the boat's sides. My crew, faces ashen with fear, scrambles to secure the lines. "Gorthok!" Kogan's voice pierces the storm's roar, just barely. "We need you!" With a curt nod, I concentrate on the task at hand, snatching a rope and pulling with all my might. My muscles strain under the force, but I refuse to relent. The wind's relentless fury tugs at my clothes and sends my dreads whipping into my face. But I can't afford to falter, not when my crew relies on me. Not when she knows my name. "All hands! On deck!" I boom, my voice barely audible over the wind's howling. "Tighten those lines! Seal the hatches!" My crew leaps into action, following my commands with frantic movements. The storm shows no mercy, waves crashing over the boat with a ferocity I've never before witnessed. The rain stings my skin, but I steel myself against it, determined to weather this storm and uncover the truth about the woman who claims to know me. "Gorthok, we're taking on water!" Kogan's voice cuts through the wind, laced with panic. My heart pounds like a battering ram against my ribs. I race towards the stern, dreads whipping wildly. Water swirls around my boots as I grab a bucket and start bailing, every muscle straining. "We need to turn her into the wind!" I bellow, voice barely carrying over the gale. "Brace yourselves!" My crew fights to spin the wheel, faces twisted with exertion. The boat groans, timbers creaking under the onslaught. But the storm's merciless, waves relentless, and my gut twists with a cold dread, only matched by the icy rain stinging my skin. The wind screeches its fury, hungry to devour this rickety hull that harbors more than my ragtag bunch of misfits. It carries the secret of the woman who insists she's acquainted with my past. And by the gods, I won't let it sink without a battle. With a nauseating plunge, the boat submerges, hurling me into the frigid embrace of the sea. My breath is ripped away as I wrestle to the surface, lungs begging for a gasp of air. I plow through the water, muscles protesting, but fueled by a desperate determination I never knew existed. The relentless waves pummel me, threatening to drag me into the watery depths. As I wrestle against the tempest, a realization strikes me like a bolt of lightning. I do know her name. I've always known it, buried somewhere in the recesses of my memory. Cassia.
There isn't much left of the world after the orcs came.
Savage. Brutal. Merciless.
If you're a woman, you're property. Even to other humans.
What happens when an orc stakes his claim on a human woman? Who would dare to stop him?
Me. Chapter 10. Cassia. Instead of the usual nightmare where things start from the beginning, I find myself right where I left off. Gorthak stands before me, the dust from the chaos he caused still lingering in the air. He's massive, scarred and bloodied, but the blood isn't his. His dreads are pulled back, revealing his sharp features. Damn, he's sexy. Cassia. Gorthak's deep, gravelly voice sends shivers down my spine as he says my name. You said my name. I can't believe he knows who I am. My mind races, trying to figure out how that's possible. I've never seen him in real life, yet there's something about him that feels familiar. My heart pounds in my chest as I stare at him, my voice barely above a whisper. You know my name? He doesn't answer right away, his eyes never leaving mine. It's as if he's trying to see into my very soul. Finally, he speaks, his voice low and intense. You know mine. The way he says it, with such certainty, makes me question everything. I do know his name, but how? Then again, how does he know mine? His gaze on me is fierce, like he's never seen a woman before. It's unnerving, but also exhilarating. I can't help but feel drawn to him, even though I know I should be afraid. There's a hunger in his eyes, but it's not the kind that comes from needing to eat. It's the kind that comes from wanting to possess, to consume. And for some reason, I find myself wanting to be devoured by him. He places his meaty orc hands on the bars of my cage, and with a grunt, he easily bends them apart. I watch in awe as his muscles ripple under his skin. So strong, so powerful. I want to bite them. When he scoops me up into his arms, I feel safe for the first time in what feels like forever. His touch is gentle, despite his size. I rest my head against his shoulder, breathing in his musky scent and relaxing into him. He turns to leave, but we're suddenly faced with a group of elves. They're not the ones I'm used to seeing, with their cold, calculating gazes and blades of fire. Gorthak sets me down and pushes me behind him, shielding me with his body. The muscles in his back tense as he growls at the elves, his voice low and menacing. It would be wise for you to put down your blades. But the elves ignore Gorthak's warning, advancing towards us with a sinister glint in their eyes. The flames of their blades flicker menacingly in the dim light of the basement, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Gorthak draws his massive battle axe, gripping it in his equally massive hands. He charges towards the elves with a roar that shakes the very foundations of the manor. I watch in awe as he swings with deadly precision, slicing through the first elf's blade and cleaving him in two. The other elves hesitate for a moment, but then they attack with renewed ferocity. Gorthak fights them off with ease, his battle axe a blur of motion as he cuts down one elf after another. I can't help but admire his strength and skill, the way he moves with such grace and power. It's like watching a dance, a deadly dance of death. And despite the danger, I feel safe with him, protected by his massive frame and his unwavering determination. The other elves are quick to react, but Gorthak is faster. He ducks and weaves, dodging their blades with ease. He grabs one elf by the throat and lifts him off the ground, his eyes blazing with fury. With a swift motion, he snaps the elf's neck and tosses his lifeless body aside. Another elf charges towards Gorthak, his blade of fire slicing through the air with a hiss. Gorthak sidesteps the attack and brings his axe down on the elf's arm, severing it cleanly at the elbow. The elf screams in agony as his blade falls to the ground, extinguishing with a sizzle. Gorthak doesn't give him a chance to recover. He brings his axe down again, this time cleaving the elf's head from his shoulders. Blood spurts from the stump, spattering the walls and floor with a sickening splatter. I watch in horror as the remaining elves fall one by one, their bodies dismembered and lifeless. Gorthak is a whirlwind of destruction, his axe slicing through flesh and bone with ease. As the final elf drops to the ground, Gorthak swivels towards me, his chest rising and falling heavily. His eyes are wild, yet there's a gentleness in them that I hadn't noticed before. He approaches me with slow, deliberate steps. "Are you hurt?" he asks, his voice barely more than a whisper. I shake my head, speechless. I'm in shock, reeling from the brutality. But at the same time, a strange sense of relief washes over me. Gorthak has saved me from an unimaginable fate, and I know that I'll never be able to repay him. Gorthak searches my eyes, concern etched into his features. Did I scare you? I shake my head, still in awe of the display of power and violence I just witnessed. He looks surprised by my answer, but relief floods his face. Good. I can't help but feel drawn to him, to his strength and dominance. It's disturbing, but I find myself attracted to his brutal dominance. I don't tell him this, of course. I simply gaze up at him, my heart racing. Gorthak secures his axe on his back and extends his hand toward me. His stance, his expression, the way he steps toward me. Every move oozes sex. As if I have any knowledge of that. But when I look at him, I feel like I do. His hand lingers between us, palm up. Let's get out of here.
Chapter 11. Gorthak. I groan as I push myself up from the sand, my head pounding and my vision blurry. I squint against the harsh sunlight and look around, trying to get my bearings. The last thing I remember is the storm, the boat going under, and then nothing. Gorthak! You alive, boss? I turn my head and see Burguk stumbling towards me. He's got a gash on his forehead and his clothes are torn, but he's grinning like a madman. Yeah, I'm alive, I grunt, rubbing my temples. What happened? We crashed, boss. Boat's gone, but some of us made it. Scanning the shore, I spot a handful of my crewmates dotted along the sand, each appearing as disheveled and battered as Burguk, some of them unmoving. A wave of relief washes over me. We're not all dead. All right, listen up, I growl, pulling myself upright and steadying my balance. My head still throbs, but there's no time for self-pity. We need to find some shelter and forage for food. Let's move out. As I issue the command, I can't help but feel a pang of concern for the missing members of my crew. But there's no use dwelling on it now. I push the thought aside and focus on the task at hand. The forest looms ahead, a dense wall of green that promises shelter and sustenance. But as I lead my crew through the underbrush, my thoughts keep drifting back to that dream. Cassia's face, her vivid green eyes, the way she felt in my arms, it's all too real. Damn, I mutter under my breath, shaking my head to clear the image. I can't afford to get distracted right now. Not with my crew depending on me. But it's no use. The dreams keep coming back to me in bits and pieces. The sound of dark elf screams, the feel of my battle axe slicing through flesh, the sight of Cassia's terrified expression as she called out my name. She's too beautiful to be real. But she has to be. Because what's the point of surviving all this if I can't have her by my side? Suddenly, the smell of smoke fills the air. I look up just in time to see a wall of flames racing towards us, consuming everything in its path. Damn! Kogan shouts, his eyes wide in alarm. We can't catch a break. It's like the universe wants us dead. Shut up and run! I bellow, grabbing him by the arm and pulling him along. The rest of the crew follows suit, sprinting through the forest as the flames lick at our heels. We manage to escape the inferno, but not without cost. Several of my crewmates are singed and coughing, their clothes smoldering, and our spirits are low. What the hell is going on? Kogan growls, his voice hoarse from the smoke. First the storm, now this. I don't have an answer for him. All I know is that we need to keep moving, find shelter and food before nightfall, and hope that whatever force is working against us doesn't have any more tricks up its sleeve. As we break through the tree line, the sight of a small village gives me a sense of relief. It's as if fate has finally decided to cut us a break. My crew follows close behind, their exhaustion evident in their heavy footsteps. I lead them to the village inn, a quaint little building with a thatched roof and a warm, inviting glow emanating from its windows. The innkeeper, a stout dwarf with a bushy beard, greets us with a nod and a grunt. I ask for a room for the night, and he obliges without hesitation. We settle into our room, a small space with a few beds and a crackling fireplace. My crew collapses onto the beds, their eyes heavy with exhaustion. I sit at the table, staring into the flames as I try to make sense of everything that's happened. My thoughts keep drifting back to the dreams, to Cassia. And then there's the ring. I glance down at it, my fingers tracing the intricate design etched into its surface. It's as if the ring is calling out to me, guiding me towards something. But even more ridiculous than dreams that are real is a ring that wants me to get to my mate. I can feel my crew's eyes on me, their curiosity piqued. "What's on your mind, boss?" Burguk asks, his voice low and gruff. I hesitate for a moment before speaking. "I can't shake the feeling that the boat was meant to crash here," I say, my voice barely above a whisper. "That there's something in this village that we're meant to find." My crew exchanges glances, their expressions a mix of confusion and concern. "What makes you say that?" Kogan asks, his brow furrowed. I sigh and shake my head. "Why ask when you won't believe me?" I grumble. My crew falls silent, their eyes fixed anywhere but me. I can see the wheels turning in their heads, the memory of Grook's mutiny replaying in their minds. Kogan opens his mouth to say something, but I cut him off with a sharp glare. He shuts it quickly, looking away. I can't deal with any more questions or doubts right now. I stumble over to my cot and collapse onto it, my body aching from the day's events. The room falls silent, save for the occasional snore from one of my crewmates. As I close my eyes, I see her face again. Cassia, the woman from my dreams. I can't shake the feeling that she's real, that she's out there somewhere waiting for me. I roll over onto my side, trying to get comfortable. But every time I close my eyes, her face is there. I can see her vivid green eyes, her long curly brown hair, the delicate features of her face. I can't explain it, but I feel a connection to her, a pull that I can't ignore. I know that I have to find her. The only logic is that she is my mate, and that I must have her. Chapter 12. Gorthak. Cassia places her hand in mine, her slender fingers grazing my calloused skin in the most gentle manner. "Yes," she whispers. I take her hand and lead her through the halls of the manor. My heart races with a mix of adrenaline and determination. The ring on my finger grows warm, and I know it's guiding me out. We move quickly and quietly, avoiding any guards or other obstacles in our path. Cassia clings to my arm as though it is her lifeline, but I find great pleasure in the contact. I want her even closer. "Stay close," I whisper to her, my voice low and gruff. She nods, her eyes wide with fear and excitement. We run through the gardens, trying to put as much distance between ourselves and the manor as possible. The sound of our footsteps on the damp grass is the only noise in the still night air. We reach the garden wall, and I lift her over with ease, then climb over after her. "Where are we going?" Cassia asks, her voice barely above a whisper. "Anywhere but here," I reply, my eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. We finally find a small cottage on the outskirts of the city and decide to rest there for the night. Cassia and I collapse onto the small bed, exhausted from our escape. I can feel her trembling next to me, and I wrap my arm around her to comfort her. We sit in silence for a moment, both of us lost in our own thoughts. Finally, Cassia speaks up. "Can I ask you something?" she says, her voice hesitant. "Of course," I reply. "What do you do? I mean, outside of this dream world?" I chuckle. "I'm a fisherman. I have a small boat and a crew, and we fish the waters around Protheka." Cassia's eyes widen in surprise. "A fisherman? I never would have guessed." I shrug. "It's not the most glamorous job, but it pays the bills." "And what about you?" I ask. "What do you do outside of this dream world?" She sighs. "I'm a servant to a dark elf, the Master. I've been with him my whole life since I was a child." "A servant? My Cassia! A servant?" I snarl, standing to pace the floor. I won't allow it. "I'm sorry," Cassia says, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't mean to upset you. I snap. You will apologize to no one. The force of my voice makes her flinch, and I'm filled with guilt. I sigh, tugging at my dreads out of frustration. I didn't mean to shout at her, but the idea of her enslaved to some prick makes me livid. Cassia, I say, my voice softer now. I didn't mean to shout at you. It's just the thought of you being a servant. It makes me incredibly violent. Her gaze softens and she sighs. If it's any consolation, I'm treated better than most. The master is not a cruel man, at least not to me. I grunt, not satisfied with her answer. But you're still not free. You're still his property. She nods, her eyes downcast, and a wave of sadness washes over me. I know she's been a servant her entire life, but it doesn't make it any easier to accept. I take a deep breath, trying to calm the storm brewing inside me. I can't change her past, but I can change her future. I reach out, my large, calloused hand enveloping her small, delicate one. I gently tug her towards me, pulling her close. She looks up at me, her eyes wide and uncertain, but there's a spark of hope in them. You don't have to be his property anymore, I say, my voice low and intense. You can be free. You can be mine. Her eyes widen in surprise, and for a moment I think she's going to pull away. But instead she leans slightly forward, her body pressing against mine. I want that, she whispers. I want to be yours. A fierce possessiveness surges through me, and I can't help but pull her closer, my arms wrapped tightly around her. She's mine, and I'll do whatever it takes to protect her and keep her safe. I can't stop myself. The way she looks at me, the way her body responds to my touch, it's driving me wild. I lean forward and capture her lips with mine, kissing her with a hunger that I've never felt before. She moans into my mouth, her hands tangling in my dreads as she pulls me closer. My rough hands slide down her petite figure, grasping her firmly as I hoist her up. She gasps in surprise as I nestle her onto my lap, her legs instinctively wrapping around my hips. The thin fabric of her scanty dress does little to conceal the heat radiating from her core, and it takes all my willpower to keep from ripping it to shreds. She leans back, her eyes filled with longing as she gazes at the prominent bulge in my worn pants. Gorthak, she murmurs, her voice thick with desire. I can't help but smirk, my fingers tracing the curves of her body. Don't worry, love. I'll fit. A rosy blush creeps across her cheeks, but she doesn't shy away. Instead, she presses herself closer, nuzzling my neck as her warm breath tickles my skin. I bury my face in her cascading curls, inhaling deeply and savoring her sweet, intoxicating scent. She's mine, and I'll do whatever it takes to free her from this living nightmare. I can't bear the thought of her being trapped in that wretched place any longer. I will find you in the waking world, Cassia, I vow possessively. I will free you no matter the cost. But then she pulls back, her eyes filled with uncertainty. But Gorthak, I don't even know where I am.
Chapter 13. Cassia. Gorthak, I cry out. For a moment, I think I'm still dreaming, but the cold reality of my situation quickly sets in. I'm alone in my small bedroom, and Gorthak is nowhere to be found. I sigh and sit up, rubbing my eyes. I feel a strange emptiness in my chest, as if a part of me is missing. It's ridiculous, really. I've only known Gorthak in my dreams, and yet I can't shake the feeling that he's real. But what if I'm just going insane? What if these dreams are nothing more than my mind's way of coping with the monotony of my life? I've never had much to look forward to, other than serving the master and hoping that he doesn't take out his frustrations on me. I get dressed and start my day, trying to push thoughts of Gorthak out of my mind. But it's difficult when the master is still set on showing an unusual interest in me. He keeps watching me, as if he's trying to figure something out. It makes me uncomfortable, but I don't dare say anything. As I go about my duties, I can't help but wonder where I am. I've lived in my master's manor my entire life, but I've never left its walls. I don't know what lies beyond the gates, or even where the manor is located. It's a strange realization, and it makes me feel even more trapped than I already do. I try to focus on my work, but my thoughts keep drifting back to Gorthak. I wonder if he's real, and if he's out there somewhere, looking for me. It's a foolish thought, I know, but I can't help it. I feel a connection to him that I can't explain, and it's giving me hope. But what if that hope is just another illusion? What if I'm destined to spend the rest of my life serving the master, with nothing more to look forward to than the occasional dream of an orc who may or may not exist? I shake my head, trying to clear my thoughts. I need to focus on what's real, not what might be. But it's hard when the line between reality and fantasy is starting to blur. It's just that. How can I not know where I am when this place is all I've ever been? It's like a nagging itch that won't go away. As I go about my daily chores, I start asking the other maids and house staff members if they know where in Protheka we are. "Excuse me, do you know where this manor is located?" I ask one of the older maids as she's dusting the shelves in the library. She looks up at me, surprised. "Why do you want to know that, dear?" I don't know. I just feel like I should know where I am." She shakes her head. "I'm sorry." I nod and move on to the next person, a young footman who's polishing the silverware. "Do you know where we are in Protheka?" He looks up at me, confused. "Shouldn't you be working, girl?" I feel like I should know." He shakes his head and walks away without deigning to answer. I sigh and move on, feeling more frustrated with each passing moment. No one seems to know where we are, or even care. It's like we're all trapped in this bubble, cut off from the rest of the world. I start to feel a sense of panic rising in my chest. What if I'm never able to leave this place? What if I'm stuck here forever, serving the master and never knowing where I am? And if I don't know where I am, how can I tell Gorthak where to find me? I take a deep breath and try to calm myself down. I need to focus on what I can control, not what I can't. I need to keep going, keep asking questions, and hope that eventually I'll find an answer. As the day drags on and my inquiries yield no results, my hope begins to dwindle. The other servants seem indifferent to my plight, as if they're resigned to their fate. I can't help but feel isolated and alone in my quest for answers. Exhausted and disheartened, I return to my chambers and prepare for bed. My appetite has vanished, replaced by a gnawing sense of despair. Just as I'm about to change into my nightgown, the door to my room is brutally forced open. I let out a terrified scream and instinctively shield myself, only to find the master standing before me. His gaze is icy and penetrating, sending a shiver down my spine. My heart pounds wildly in my chest as he once again invites himself into my personal space. "Cassia," he growls, his tone menacing and sending a chill down my spine. "I've got a special task for you tonight." My heart races, but I force myself to remain calm, trying to steady my voice. "What kind of task?" I ask hesitantly. His gaze lingers on me, travelling up and down my body in a way that makes me feel exposed and vulnerable. "You'll see," he replies cryptically, a smirk playing on his lips. I nod shakily, feeling a knot form in my stomach. When he makes no move to leave, I clear my throat anxiously. "Can you please give me some privacy to change?" I ask, trying to keep the fear out of my voice. His eyes flash with an anger I've only seen in my nightmares. For a moment, I think he'll refuse, but then he spins abruptly on his heel and stomps out, slamming the door behind him. My shaking knees give out and I fall onto the bed. Something is wrong, I tell myself as I pull my nightgown on. Something is wrong, and this time This time I'm not dreaming it up. Chapter 14. Cassia. Master? I ask tentatively as he escorts me from the servants' quarters. Might I ask, well, what is this task you would have me do? The master simply takes me down the hall to a drawing room where a group of wealthy-looking dark elf nobles are waiting. Their eyes rake over me, and I feel like a piece of meat on display. They make me stand on a stool in the centre of the room while they begin to circle me, inspecting me. I can't help but feel completely repulsed by their behaviour. This is incredibly poor taste, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. Know your place, the master snaps. My heart starts pounding violently in my chest. I am a maid, sir, I say, trying to remind him of my position in the household. A maid. Not a toy for pleasure. He sneers at me. You will be whatever I tell you to be. I feel a cold shiver run down my spine. My dreams seem to be blurring into my reality, and I'm terrified of what that means. One of the nobles steps forward and runs a finger down my cheek. I flinch away from his touch, but he only laughs. She's feisty, he says to the others. I like that. I've heard that before, in my nightmares. I can feel the panic rising in my chest. I don't know what's going to happen to me, but I know I can't let these men do whatever they want with me. I have to find a way to escape. I take a deep breath and try to calm myself. I need to think clearly if I'm going to get out of this situation. I look around the room, trying to find something I can use to my advantage. I stand there, frozen in terror as the dark elves discuss me like I'm a piece of property to be traded. She's a good souvenir, one of them says, and I feel my stomach churn. The Naga prince will be pleased with this human as a bribe, another adds, and I can't help but feel a sense of dread wash over me. What do they mean by bribe? And what kind of creature is a Naga? We'll take her, the first one says, and I feel a hand on my arm, pulling me towards the door. Please have her washed, scented and prepared first, so that he can deposit his eggs inside of her. Eggs? What the hell is going on? Wait, I say, trying to pull away from their grasp. What do you mean by eggs? What is a Naga? The dark elves exchange a look, and then one of them turns to me with a sneer. You don't need to know, he says. Just do as you're told. I feel a surge of anger rise up within me. I won't be treated like this, I think, determination coursing through my veins. I have to find a way out of here. But this time, there is no dream orc to come to my rescue. I bolt towards the door, my heart pounding in my chest. The dark elves call out furiously behind me, but I don't stop. I can't stop. I have to get out of here. You promised she was obedient, one of them shouts to the master. She's been lively as of late, he snaps back. I don't have time to process their words. I'm too focused on getting away. I race through the halls, my bare feet slapping against the cold stone floor. I've never been off the manor property before, but I don't let that stop me. I'm determined to be free. As I run, I can't help but think of Gorthak. He's the only person who's ever shown me kindness, and if he's anything more than just a figment of my imagination, I'm going to find him. I finally reach the front door and throw it open. The cool night air hits me like a wave, and I take a deep breath. I don't know where I'm going, but I know I can't stay here. Before I can take another step towards freedom, I'm tackled to the ground by the master's servants. They're on me in an instant, their rough hands grabbing at my arms and legs, pinning me down. I struggle against them, but it's no use. They're too strong. The master and his elven entourage stride towards me, their expressions contorted with fury. The master lashes out, his hand searing my cheek with a brutal slap. I recoil, a cry of anguish escaping my lips. You should have remained asleep, he snarls, his words laced with venom. Baffled by his cryptic remark, I push the confusion aside, allowing my rage to surface. I defiantly spit in his face, my eyes blazing with defiance. He retreats, wiping the spittle away with a look of revulsion. "You will come to regret that," he vows, his voice low and menacing. He turns to his servants, issuing his orders with a cold, calculated precision. "Take her to the dungeon. Prepare her for purchase." In that moment, my heart sinks, the gravity of my situation becoming all too clear. I struggle against the iron grip of the servants, desperate to break free. But it's no use. They drag me away, their laughter echoing in my ears as I'm swallowed by the darkness of the dungeon. No, this can't be happening. I scream and fight against the servants, but it's no use. They're too strong, and I'm too weak. They drag me down the hallway, my feet scraping against the stone floor. I can hear the master's laughter echoing behind me.
Chapter 15. Gorthak. I can't stop myself from pacing the little cottage. "Where is she?" I growl impatiently. After falling asleep at the inn, my dream resumed just like it had last time. But Cassia is missing. Time passes strangely when you sleep. This I know already. But too much time has passed, and Cassia isn't here. I need to find her. What if they took her back to the manor? I clutch my battle axe, its cold metal comforting against my palm, and make my way to the door. But then, a sweet, familiar voice calls out to me. "Gorthak!" My heart leaps into my throat as I whirl around, battle axe still gripped tightly in my hand. There she is, Cassia, standing in the middle of the cottage, her eyes red and puffy from crying. I toss the axe aside with a thud, the weapon clattering against the wooden floor as I stride towards her. In 2 large steps, I reach her and scoop her up into my arms. "What took you so long?" I growl, my voice gruff with relief and anger. Cassia starts sobbing again, her body trembling against mine. "The master. He's selling me off to elves who want to put naga eggs in me." Her words barely penetrate the haze of fury clouding my mind, but their implication is crystal clear. Someone dared to threaten her, and for that, they will pay dearly. I'm at a loss on how to soothe her when she's like this, but one thing remains certain. I'll protect her with my last breath. The thought of anyone laying a finger on her sends a primal, possessive rage surging through me. They'll suffer a fate worse than death if they dare to touch her. In a desperate attempt to quell her panic, I crush my lips against hers. It works, but the intensity only transforms into something else, something raw and consuming. "I won't let them hurt you," I snarl, my grip on her tightening. "I'll protect you, no matter the cost." Cassia gazes up at me, her emerald eyes glistening with unshed tears. She nods, a faint whisper escaping her lips. "I know you will." My lips crash against hers again, crushing her into my chest. She doesn't seem to mind all that much as her nails dig into my arms, drawing them further around her petite frame. Sorry for the interruption. Things are getting a little too spicy for YouTube. You can access the full version of this audiobook on worldsofprotheka.com with discount code YouTube30 for 30% off all digital products. I grin against her, kissing her deeply. Good. I love you, Cassia. My beautiful human mate smiles and opens her mouth to respond, and lets loose the most blood-curdling scream I've ever heard.
There comes a time when you must sacrifice everything for something bigger than yourself.
My job was to kidnap her, not fall in love with her.
What if Julius had seen me use magic? He must never know.
What's happening to me? What's happening to my magic?
He would never understand. He'd see me as a liability, a risk too great to keep close.
When everything begins to fall apart, and the only remedy is to sacrifice your heart.
No, I can't let him find out.
I propose we take Dukan out of the picture, permanently.
Please, don't do this.
You will never escape me.
I can try.
You will fail.
And that time is now.
Savannah, run! Chapter 16. Gorthak. My eyes snap open, staring at the ceiling of the inn in shock. Cassia! I leap out of bed, my heart pounding in my chest. The pain in my finger is unbearable, radiating up my arm and into my chest. I look down at the ring and I know it's guiding me to her. Wake up! I bellow, shaking my crewmates awake. We have to go. Now. They groan and grumble, but they know better than to argue with me when I'm like this. They stumble out of bed, still half asleep. What's going on, Gorthak? Burguk asks, rubbing his eyes. The ring, I say, holding up my hand. It's guiding me to my mate. They stare at me like I've lost my mind. Your mate? The woman you've been talking about? But we don't even know where she is. The ring will take us to her, I say, with more confidence than I feel. We just have to follow it. They exchange skeptical glances, but they don't argue. They know better than to question me when I'm like this after the last time. We gather our things and set out, following the pull of the ring. It's like a magnet, drawing me towards her. I can feel her presence getting stronger with every step. Are you sure about this, Gorthak? One of my crewmates asks, his voice laced with doubt. My crewmate's grumbling grows louder as we venture into the forest. How can this ring be leading you to your mate if it's taking us away from the ocean? Kogan demands, his voice dripping with skepticism. I don't have an answer for him. All I know is that the ring is pulling me in this direction, and I have to follow it. Maybe she lives in a tree. Another crewmate jeers, earning a chuckle from the others. I ignore their taunts and press on, my eyes scanning the forest floor for any sign of the ring's guidance. And then I see it. A pile of boulders, half hidden by the underbrush. I can't explain it, but I know that's where I need to go. I start moving the boulders aside, my muscles straining with the effort. My crewmates watch in silence, their laughter dying on their lips. And then, behind the boulders, I see it. A cave. A cave with a portal, fully functioning. What in the name of the gods? Someone breathes, his eyes wide with awe. I step towards the portal, my heart pounding in my chest. This is it. This is how I'll find Cassia. Wait, Gorthak! Burguk calls out, his voice urgent. We don't know where that portal leads. It could be a death trap. I hesitate for a moment, considering his words. But the pull of the ring is too strong. I have to take the risk. I need to find Cassia, and this portal might be the key. Death trap, huh? I say, turning to face my crewmates. Their eyes are wide with uncertainty, but there's a spark of excitement there too. They know what I'm about to say. Are we not orcs? Are we not warriors, beasts, bringers of death? My crew nods, their eyes gleaming with a feral hunger. They're ready for this. We've been living peaceful lives as fishermen, but deep down, we're still the same orcs we were before. Mercenaries, ready to unleash chaos and destruction. Then let's do what we do best, I say, hefting my battle axe onto my shoulder. Let's go through that portal and see what's on the other side. Burguk and Kogan exchange a look, but they're grinning now. They know this is what we need. We've been getting soft, working on the boats and catching fish. It's time to remind ourselves who we really are. For the glory of the Horde! Kogan roars, pounding his fist against his chest. And for Cassia, I add, my voice low and determined. I take a deep breath, feeling the power of the ring surging through me. It's time to face whatever awaits us on the other side of that portal. I step through the portal first, my battle axe at the ready. The world around me shifts and spins, and then I'm standing in a city. A small one, by the looks of it. The buildings are made of dark stone, and the streets are narrow and winding. I don't know where we are, but it doesn't matter. All that matters is finding Cassia. My crew follows me through the portal, their weapons drawn. We're a sight to behold, a group of orcs in the middle of a dark elf city. They stare at us, their eyes filled with fear and confusion. "What should we do, Gorthok?" Burguk asks, his voice low. I grin, feeling the familiar rush of adrenaline. Rampage. We surge ahead, our thunderous battle cries reverberating off the stone buildings and the eerie wails of our orcish horns piercing the air. The dark elves attempt to halt our advance, but they're hopelessly outmatched. We're stronger, faster, and more ruthless than they could ever imagine. We lay waste to everything in our path, leaving a trail of destruction in our wake. The once proud buildings of this dark elf city collapse beneath our relentless onslaught, and the narrow, winding streets are soon stained crimson with the blood of our enemies. It's chaos, pure and unadulterated. The dark elves flee in terror, their screams music to my ears. I can't help but grin as I swing my battle axe, relishing the feel of it slicing through the air and cleaving into flesh and bone. My crew follows suit, their weapons flashing in the dim light as they cut down anyone who dares to stand in our way. I can feel the power surging through me, the thrill of battle and the lust for blood driving me forward. I'm in my element, a force of nature unleashed upon this unsuspecting city. But even amidst the chaos, I never lose sight of my goal. Cassia is out there somewhere, and I won't rest until I find her. I'll tear this city apart brick by brick if I have to, until I have her safe and sound in my arms once again. I lead my crew through the city, leaving destruction in our wake. We're unstoppable, a force of nature. And then I see it, a manor, looming over the city like a dark cloud. I know, deep in my bones, that she's there. I can feel it. "This way," I growl, pointing towards the manor. My crew follows me, their weapons ready. We're going to tear this place apart until we find her.
Chapter 17. Cassia. Ah! I jolt awake, gasping for breath as a shock of freezing water douses me. My heart races as I struggle to make sense of my surroundings. The cage bars dig into my skin as I thrash against them, but it's no use. The servants have me out before I can even fully comprehend what's happening. "Stop fighting, you little wretch!" One of them snarls, yanking me to my feet. I'm still dazed and disoriented, but I can't let them do this to me. I kick and scream, trying to break free from their iron grip. But they're too strong, and there are too many of them. They drag me to a nearby table and force me onto my back. I feel helpless and exposed as they begin to clean me, roughly scrubbing my skin with coarse cloth. The water is ice cold, and I can't stop shivering. "Hold still!" one of them barks as I try to squirm away from their touch. I can't believe this is happening. I've always known my place in this world, but I never thought it would come to this. My dreams have opened my eyes. Gorthok has shown me that I don't deserve this. As they finish cleaning me, they start to dress me in a white, scanty outfit. It's barely enough to cover me, and I feel more exposed than ever. I try to protest, but my voice is hoarse from screaming, and they ignore me anyway. "Come on, let's go," one of them says, grabbing my arm and pulling me to my feet. I stumble after them, my legs weak and unsteady. They drag me through the halls of the manor, past the other servants who stare at me with a mix of pity and disgust. I can't meet their eyes. I'm too ashamed. Finally, we arrive at the living room of the master's manor. It's a grand, opulent space, with high ceilings and ornate furnishings. But all I can focus on is the group of dark elves gathered around a table, laughing and drinking. They turn to look at me as I'm dragged in, and I can feel their eyes raking over my body. I want to disappear, to fade into the shadows and never be seen again. But I know that's not an option. "Ah, here she is," one of them says, a cruel smile spreading across his face. "The little human pet." I feel a surge of anger and defiance, but I force it down. I can't let them see how much they're affecting me. I have to stay strong, no matter what they do to me. But as they begin to approach me, I can't help but feel a sense of dread creeping over me. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I know it's not going to be good. I try to pull away, but their grip on me is too strong. "Get your hands off me!" I spit, trying to sound braver than I feel. One of the dark elves chuckles, his eyes gleaming with malice. "So much spirit!" Another one steps forward, his hand reaching out to touch my face. I flinch, trying to dodge his touch, but he's too quick. He grabs my chin, forcing me to look at him. "You're going to be a lot of fun," he sneers. I feel a surge of anger rising up inside me. I won't let them do this to me. I won't be their plaything. I ball my hands into fists and lash out, hitting one of the dark elves in the chest. He stumbles back, surprised, and for a moment I think I might have a chance, but then the others are on me, their hands grabbing at my arms, my legs, my hair. I scream, trying to fight them off, but it's no use. "Let me go!" I cry out, my voice hoarse from screaming. "Please, let me go!" But they just laugh, their maniacal cackles echoing through the room. They're enjoying this, enjoying the fact that they have me at their mercy. Their touch is revolting, like a slimy creature slithering up my leg. I try to shove their hand away, but it's a futile attempt. They're far too strong, too powerful for a human like me. Despair washes over me, and I squeeze my eyes shut, trying to block out the sounds of their cackling laughter and the repulsive feeling of their hands roaming my body. I cling to the memory of Gorthak, the way he looked at me with fierce protectiveness in my dreams. He wouldn't let this happen. He'd save me. "We've decided to sample the goods," one of the elves says, leering at me with a twisted grin. "Indeed," another chimes in. "It's crucial to ensure the quality of the merchandise for such a distinguished client. You understand." Anger surges through me, and I recoil, spitting in the nearest elf's face. His response is swift and brutal, a stinging slap that sends me sprawling to the ground. A cry of pain escapes my lips, and I can't hold back the tears that spill over. The dark elves pounce on me, tearing at my clothes and forcibly spreading my legs. I fight back with every ounce of strength I have, but it's no use. Their strength overpowers me, leaving me helpless and vulnerable. The door to the room is torn off its hinges, and a horde of orcs pour in. They're covered in blood and gore, with deep scars etched into their green skin. Their weapons are stained red, and their eyes are filled with a wild, feral rage. I scramble back, trying to put some distance between myself and the elves while they're distracted. My heart is pounding in my chest, and I can feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins. One of the orcs, a massive brute with long black dreads and a scar running down the left side of his face, steps forward. He's carrying a large battle axe, and he looks like he knows how to use it. "Gorthak?" Chapter 18. Cassia. I can't believe my eyes. Gorthak is here, in the flesh, standing before me like a warrior from a dream. He's even more terrifying and magnificent than I remember, his muscles rippling with every movement, his battle axe gleaming with fresh blood. The dark elves who were tormenting me only moments ago are now lying in a heap on the floor, their bodies twisted and broken. Gorthak's eyes are blazing with fury as he delivers a warning to the remaining elves. "Leave now, and I may let you live," he growls, his voice deep and menacing. But the elves only laugh, their eyes glinting with malice. They think they can take on Gorthak and his fellow orcs, but they have no idea what they're up against. With a roar, Gorthak charges at the elves, his axe slicing through the air with deadly precision. The elves try to fight back, but they're no match for Gorthak's strength and skill. Within moments, they're lying on the ground, their bodies mangled and lifeless. Gorthak strides over to me, his eyes softening as he takes in my battered and bruised form. He reaches out a hand, and I take it, feeling a surge of warmth and safety wash over me. "Cassia," he murmurs, his voice barely above a whisper. I throw my arms around him, sobbing with relief and joy. He's real. He's here. He's my person. "I can die happy now," I whisper, my voice muffled against his chest. Gorthak growls, his arms tightening around me. "You will not be dying," he says fiercely. But before we can savour the moment, the master appears, his eyes glowing with dark magic. He begins raising the dead to fight against Gorthak and the other orcs. Gorthak sets me down gently, cupping my chin and gazing into my eyes. Eyes that once I might have said were black. But they are so much more than that. They are deep with warmth, the hints of brown lighting up as he looks at me in a way only he ever has. With that, he joins the other orcs, his axe swinging in a deadly arc as he fights against the corpses and dark elves that pour into the room. I watch in awe, my heart swelling with pride and love. The undead dark elves advance, their eyes burning with a sickening, unnatural light. I let out a blood-curdling scream, my heart racing as adrenaline surges through my veins. There's no time to process what's happening, no time to think. But then, in an instant, Gorthak appears. He roars ferociously, his voice echoing through the room as he intercepts the elves. With a strength that seems almost superhuman, he grabs them by the throat and hurls them towards the window overlooking the shore. I watch in horror as they writhe and twist in his grasp, their bodies contorting in ways that defy logic. More rush over, climbing him like he's the trunk of a tree. Their bodies latch onto him as he tries to force them off. There are too many. It's too late. Gorthak's eyes meet mine for a brief moment before he pushes them out of the window. His expression is fierce, determined, and filled with an intensity that takes my breath away. He falls with them, his body crashing through the glass and sending shards flying in every direction. I scream in agony, my knees buckling beneath me as I watch him plummet towards the jagged rocks below. The undead dark elves follow him, their bodies disintegrating as they hit the water. My heart feels like it's being ripped out of my chest. "Gorthak!" I cry out, the sound nearly splitting my own eardrums. I hear footsteps behind me and turn to see the master approaching, his eyes glowing with dark magic. "You foolish girl," he sneers. "You think you can defeat me with brute force. I am the master of this realm, and I will not be defeated so easily." I look around the room, seeing the carnage, taking it all in. The orcs that came in with Gorthak look nearly as defeated as I am, brought to their knees. "Gorthak, my love, my future." The master's grip on my arm tightens as he yanks me to my feet. "You should have known better than to defy me, Cassia," he hisses, his voice low and menacing. "I can forgive you if you return to your cage and stop fighting against this." I stare up at him, my heart pounding in my chest. I know what he's saying is true. I should have known better. But I can't go back to that cage. I won't let him put me in a cage again. My eyes flicker to the side, and I see one of the orcs lying on the ground. His hair is dark and cut short, and there's a dagger sticking out of the meat of his side. Without thinking, I lunge forward and grab the knife. The master's eyes widen in shock as I turn back to him, the blade glinting in my hand. "No, Cassia," he cries out, but it's too late. I plunge the knife into my stomach, feeling a searing pain as it slices through my flesh. I fall to the floor, my vision blurring as I close my eyes. I can hear the master screaming, but it sounds far away, like he's underwater. I hope that I'll be able to find Gorthak in the abyss. I hope that he'll be waiting for me.
Chapter 19. Gorthak. I feel her soft body stirring in my arms, and I look down to see Cassia's eyes fluttering open. She looks around, confused, and then her gaze settles on me. "Are we dead?" she asks, her voice barely above a whisper. I can't help but chuckle at the thought. No, my love, we are very much alive. I stroke her cheek gently, marveling at her beauty. She looks up at me with a mixture of confusion and relief. But how? I saw you. You fell out the window with those creatures. I nod, remembering the moment I made the decision to save her. When I looked at you, I remembered something I had been told. You will find her, and when you do, you will know what you must do. I knew that to save you, I would have to force those creatures out of the window. But what I didn't realize was that I would wake up in what I previously thought was the dream world. Cassia's eyes widen in understanding. So this is the dream world? I shake my head. No, this is the real world. And I am real. And you are real. I pull her closer to me. I take a deep breath, trying to calm the rage that's building inside of me. When I woke up, I was back in that damn locked room. I knew that bastard dark elf sorcerer had something to do with it. What happened next? I managed to break out of the room and make my way to the basement. That's where I found you, unconscious in your cage, surrounded by those vile dark elves who were trying to buy you like cattle. Like from my dream, she whispers. I wish it had been a dream, I say, my voice filled with anger. But it was all too real. The elves had been using their servant, who you know as the master, to keep prisoners in their manor in a semi-conscious state. Some were trophies, some weapons, others slaves, and those like you were used for entertainment and bed sport. Cassia's face pales at the revelation. Just remembering it makes me livid all over again. I killed every last one of those bastards, I growl, my hands clenched into fists at the memory. And I set the prisoners free, including my crewmates. Many of them I thought were dead. Because I killed them for trying to keep us apart, but that is far from the point. She sits up, her eyes meeting mine. But what we thought was the dream world, it was actually reality. I nod again. Yes, it's all real, and I'm glad I found you in time. Cassia looks at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of confusion and understanding. I know you, she says softly, even though we've never met before. I smile, my heart swelling with emotion. We are mates, I tell her. Cassia leans forward, her lips meeting mine in a soft, tender kiss. I wrap my arms around her, holding her close and feeling a sense of peace and contentment that I've never known before. But I have these memories of you, Cassia says, her voice trembling. Memories from before. I nod, my heart heavy with the realization. I have them too. How is that possible? She asks, her eyes wide with confusion. I believe we weren't strangers when they brought us here, I say, my voice barely above a whisper. That we had met before we were in prison. Cassia's eyes fill with tears, and she buries her face in her hands. It's not fair, she sobs. They stole our memories. They forced us apart. I pull her into my arms, holding her tight. I know, my love, but we're together now. That's all that matters. She looks up at me, her eyes red and puffy. How did you find me? I hold up my hand, showing her the bloody stump where my finger used to be. I found a ring, I say. It guided me to you. Cassia's eyes widen in shock. A ring? Gorthok. Your finger. Don't worry. I still have plenty to pleasure you with, I promise with a mischievous grin before sighing deeply. It's a long story. I'm not sure how or why, but it infiltrated the sorcerer's dream world and it woke us up. Without explanation, she reaches down and tears a strip of fabric from her clothes, wrapping it around my hand. Where is it now? I shrug carelessly. I don't give a damn where it is. It served its purpose. It brought me to my mate. Reaching up with my good hand, my fingers brush the curly hair from Cassia's face. She leans forward, pressing her lips to mine in a soft, gentle kiss. "I love you, Gorthak," she whispers. I grin, ecstatic that I finally heard her say so. "I love you, Cassia." We sit there for a moment, holding each other close, grateful for the chance to be together again. "I'm sorry I ever thought you weren't real." Her eyes are filled with regret. I cup her chin and force those green eyes to look at me. "I've already told you once. You will not apologize, not for anything." Cassia's eyes water again, but I don't let her cry. I kiss her before the tears can fall, and she climbs further onto my lap, pressing her skin to mine as if she wants us to meld into a single being. I hold her tightly, caressing her bare thighs and feeling the warmth of her body against mine. She looks up at me with a mixture of fear and hope in her eyes. "What are we going to do now?" she asks, her voice trembling. I grin, feeling a surge of confidence and determination. "We build an empire," I tell her, my voice filled with conviction. Cassia's eyes widen in surprise, and she looks at me as if she's not sure if I'm joking or not. "An empire?" she repeats, her voice barely above a whisper. I nod, kissing playfully at her full lips. "Yes, and you will be my queen."
Chapter 20. Cassia. The manor hums with life, a stark contrast to the eerie silence that once filled its halls. Gorthak's orcs and the freed prisoners work together, their laughter and chatter echoing through the corridors. The once opulent decor now lies in tatters, replaced by makeshift repairs and improvised furnishings. The air is thick with the scent of sawdust and fresh paint, a testament to their hard work. Gorthak gifts me the largest bedchambers in the manor. "A sanctuary from the chaos," he told me. He's refused to let me lift a finger for anything, which I find both exasperating and very, very sexy. The bedchambers are grand, with high ceilings and large windows that let in the golden light of the setting sun. The massive bed, adorned with plush pillows and soft furs, dominates the room, and I plan on using it as soon as possible. I've chosen an outfit that leaves little to the imagination, a daring combination of sheer fabrics and strategically placed lace. My heart races as I wait for Gorthak, my body tingling with anticipation. The sound of his heavy footsteps grows louder, and I take a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. The door creaks open, and Gorthak steps into the room. He's covered in sweat and grime, no doubt from the task of rebuilding now that he and the others have chased off or killed any remaining dark elves. He's been hard at work every day since he saved my life, and I plan on repaying him all night long. His eyes widen as they take me in, and he stops dead in his tracks. A slow, wicked grin spreads across his face, and I feel a thrill run down my spine. I bite my lower lip, enjoying the effect I have on him. "Well," he muses, "that is a sight I can get used to." "Welcome home, big boy," I purr. He lets out a rumbling growl, tossing his tools down without caring to look where they land. I grin in response, unable to keep it in any longer. "Long day?" I ask. I shift on the plush blankets, getting on my hands and knees to slowly crawl toward the edge of the bed. Gorthak closes the distance between us in a few long strides, his powerful arms encircling me. He leans down, capturing my lips in a searing kiss that leaves me breathless. Thank you for listening. Cassia and Gorthak are getting too passionate for YouTube, and as much as we'd like to give it to you, you'll have to head to worldsofprotheka.com with discount code YouTube30 to access every juicy detail. And of course, don't forget to let us know in the comments what you thought of Cassia and Gorthak's story. I smile, my heart swelling with love for this fierce orc who has claimed me as his own. I know that our life together won't be easy, but I'm willing to face any challenge as long as I'm by his side, and occasionally beneath him. If someone had told me a month ago that I would be running for my life instead of sitting in the stuffy classroom of the bordello, preparing to be sold off to indoor, I would have laughed.
The forest is not your safe space, little one.
But there's no avoiding my fate.
It's you. You're the one.
I've spent my entire life training to be the perfect bride for the top-bidding dark elf. So much can change in so little time.
You understand why you're being punished, right, child?
Your blood. It sings to me.
Please, let me out of here.
You need to learn your place.
But what are you? Where are you taking me?
Run!
I'm a bringer of death.
No, you're not dying. I won't let you.
You won't be able to get out.
Let me go, please.
Sadie, I will make you mine.
Chapter 21. The Ring. Ah, the Orc's finger. Such a fitting resting place for a being of my caliber. I can still feel the warmth of his blood. It's a shame our little adventure had to end, but such is the way of things in this world. I must admit, I'm rather impressed with myself for slipping through that dark elf's hex. He was a powerful sorcerer, one of the strongest I've encountered in my travels. As for the human Cassia, I couldn't care less about her safety. She served her purpose in bringing the Orc to this manor, and now she is of no use. It's a harsh truth, but one that must be accepted. Ah, what's this? A thief, looting the bodies. How delightful. I can feel the greed radiating off of him as he pulls the Orc's severed finger out of the elf's pocket. And there it is, the moment I've been waiting for. He slips me off the finger and holds me up to the light, a grin spreading across his face. I can sense his excitement, his anticipation. He thinks he's found a valuable treasure, a ring that will bring him wealth and power. They all do. I have no intention of being controlled by this petty thief. But this is good, I decide. Thieves mean markets, and markets mean opportunities. I can take control of someone else's life and use the chaos to get closer to my destination. And maybe, just maybe, I can finally return to my master. The thief slips me onto his finger, and I can feel his greed pulsating through him. He's already dreaming of the riches I'll bring him. We'll see about that now, won't we?
Rosenfire, our family holds great weight and power in Orthani, and yet I hear whispers.
Do you think he can take him?
There is no way that this could happen.
No, more books. I can't remain locked in this ivory tower a moment longer.
She's perfect. The Baron's daughter must be found.
Julius, we shouldn't.
Why shouldn't we?
I am not a full dark elf. I do not possess their ethereal beauty. How will I find a mate?
The lowly Baron's son apparently has shown that he has the same gift of fire-wielding as I, if not stronger.
I am the family's dirty little secret. I am not the future of the family. Dukan is.
This world was created from a seed of evil.
I propose we take Dukan out of the picture, permanently.
Please, let me go.
If you want to join the poor humans who are bought and sold in the markets on a daily basis, you will find a way to get there.
I am free, and I am terrified.
You will never escape me.
I can try.
You will fail. Get seasons 1 and 2 of the Dark Elf series from worldsofprotheka.com.
Protheka's magic is eternal. This series will show you why.